do something for yourself. Never put your ambitions behind or your self confidence behind. You can manage it because you're a woman. A man cannot do what a woman does. Trust me, if I give you the job of managing the kitchen in your office, I don't think you'll be able to do it as good as what I would proudly say I can do, because we have actually learned the skill of doing it.
Correct.
There's an art to manage both the things. So I would advise any woman entrepreneur, just fly with your heart, fly with your ambition, and don't say no to yourself.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Networking and Beyond. Today we have with us a doctor who's a dentist by profession and has been practicing this for over 2.5 decades. She served on the LT team over 3 times and is also a DC at BNI. This lady has appeared in various media channels for her expert professional knowledge about dentistry. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our next very amazing guest, Dr. Aarti. Welcome, Dr. Aarti, to Networking and Beyond. It's a pleasure to have you on this show. How does it feel to be on a podcast?
Thank you, Lalit, for giving me this opportunity of being with you here. And it feels really awesome because it's always something which I love to do, is talking and actually educating people on what I do and why I do it. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Fantastic, ma'am. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to know you. And recently, before we got onto the podcast, I actually visited your clinic, and I happened to see your practice, your clinic. We stay very close by. I was always wondering, you've been in this job for close to 2.5 decades now.
Yes.
What was the fascination like, to get into dentistry? Because usually medicine or engineering is something scary for me.
For me, the fascination was always to actually become a doctor. It was not that I was inclined with either a dentistry or I wanted to be an MBBS doctor. It was not that. It was like anything which gave me the prefix to my name. Doctor was always my aim from when I was, I think, in third or fourth standard. And I used to love to give injections. So I hate taking injections. I'm not a good patient, but I'm a good doctor where I used to love, but nobody used to actually encourage me or give their hand or leg and say, okay, give. So it was a banana stem that actually was my playmate. I grew up giving injections to that, and that used to be a very good playtime for me. So, and the other thing is, I didn't want to be somebody which was already there in my family. So I was the first doctor in my entire family.
Wow.
So which was again one more thing that I should be something different. So that's how actually my aim and goal of becoming a doctor came true.
That's really nice. And I'm pretty sure each one of us have had this opportunity, especially if you're from the 90s, 80s, and the 70s, that you'd get this kitchen set, doctor set that you would
Definitely.
play. And fascination starts from there.
Today's kitchen doctor sets are all, fiber and plastic. I just had one syringe which I got from a hospital, which was a glass syringe. That was my playmate.
Back in the day, you did not
Yes,
have
we didn't have the disposable
disposable
syringes.
syringe, correct.
So I used to just have one syringe without a needle
That's
because nobody used to trust and give me a needle at that time.
true, very true. And again, to become a doctor, I always believe it's not only an individual's effort, especially when you're doing medicine. I think it's a collective effort of the family and the person who's pursuing it, without which it's not possible. So, can you tell us a little bit about your support systems that you had while you were growing up in terms of your family, and how was your upbringing?
100%, it can never be an individual achievement, because it has to be your entire family, because it's 24 hours of studying that you do. There are days which we have never slept, because you come back in the evening and next day 7 is your exam.
Correct.
So it's like entire day you're awake, entire night you're awake. So it's a lot of slogging, and there are years of study where we have 7 subjects, which has theory as well as practical. So till today, it's my parents. I always say thank you to, because if today what I am is only because of their support, and I should not forget my granny, because it's like whatever I want, whenever I want, because my mom also was working. My dad was working. So it was always she who took care of the kitchen part or anything when we needed something. So I always had somebody to turn to. It was not that I was left alone in a hostel like how kids today are.
True.
See, because I know what hostel life is and I know what you miss. So I've never had that missing, because that's a plus point, because end of the day you have your people to turn to.
Correct. And there's such blessings at.
Such a blessing.
Correct.
Such a blessing, because anything that you need, they're there to support and guide you.
Absolutely.
So that's always been there.
And that sometimes when we look back builds an amount of gratitude for the kind of upbringing and the people that have supported us. And at that moment, I don't think there's a lot of value in it. But as you transition in phases of life, it becomes so beautiful, isn't it, looking back?
Very beautiful, not just beautiful, because whenever somebody tells, Doctor, you're such a good person in treating people, I always look back at my dad.
Nice.
Because he's been such a noble gentleman, and his upbringing and his values, the ideals that he's put forth, the culture that he's put forth in us is actually so well embedded, and which helps me practice my dentistry with a lot of ethics.
That's great. Ma'am, so here's my question. In my first question, when I asked you, you said you wanted to become a doctor. So what was that turning point when you realized that you want to be a dentist? Like, why did you choose dentistry over any other doctor specialization?
See, we had only CET that time. I'm talking about 1990, where that's when I completed my PU and I wrote my CET. It was only CET. So I was actually a very, very, I wouldn't say a very great student until PU.
Okay.
Maybe I was 70s, 80s range. And I just got through with my CET, everything where I could get a seat. So MBBS was a scare, because it's like 7 years by the time you complete.
Correct.
Dentistry is 5 years. 4 plus 1.
4 plus. This is
So
5 plus 2.
This is 5 plus 2. This is 4 plus 1. 4 years of studying and 1 year of internship.
Correct.
So, and dentistry is again something which I felt could fulfill my aim faster. And the other thing is, I was getting a pharma seat.
Okay.
So which already my admission was done. So if I waited for some more time, I would have lost even getting into dentistry. So I was very particular. I wanted to get into dentistry.
Okay. That's great. And I'm pretty sure once you started that journey, like you said, your family supported you, and in hand you finished your dentistry. And what was the next step like, ma'am? So getting into dentistry, did you want to do a specialization? If yes, what's your specialization like?
So after getting into dentistry, that moderate student I was the topper in all my 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So it was a big transition, because even today, if you go back to Ambedkar Dental College, I passed out in 1996. In the final year results board, my name stands there.
Oh, wow.
Even today, it's there in my college, because it was a different person when I was doing my dentistry. So it was not that PU college student who, that efforts that I put in, or the kind of knowledge that I acquired. And I knew I had to read a lot of books. So that's when actually I started reading a lot of books.
I was just going to ask you, how did you change that thing,
The college prescribes one textbook. So I never used to be satisfied with one answer. I used to read 3 other books.
Oh.
So, and I used to make my own notes.
Okay.
I never used to read what the teacher gives.
Okay.
So I made my own notes and I used to distribute it to everybody. That was what I did in final year.
Okay.
So my notes are there even now with people.
I think if we were in the same class, I'd be the one borrowing your notes.
So
I'm pretty sure on that.
I used to love doing that. So because I had learned the art of doing it. So even today I miss teaching. I love to be a teacher, but because of my practice, I cannot afford to get into college teaching because that's something I love.
Time's a constraint also.
Time is a big constraint.
During practice.
Yes.
True, ma'am. 100%. Again, when you practice something like dentistry, where you're giving your whole and soul there, and once you transition, I'm pretty sure from a dentist point of view, you've gotten from being a dentist to a bit of a business woman also. You joined BNI, and now what were some of the struggles that you faced as a woman entrepreneur, a woman doctor? What were some of the struggles that you faced growing up, and especially in your career and journey?
So, as a person, a woman, a lot of expectations are there when you're a woman. Okay, like it's not a 9 to 5 job I do. It's my passion has always been I should be available whenever my patient wants to come. So that's the USP of my Basangudi branch, the Toothwala, where it's open 24/7. It's one of its kind in Bangalore. I would rather say in India because I've never seen anything which says 24 hours private clinic. 24-hour service is there in a hospital, not in a clinic. So the challenge was bringing my kids up, satisfying their needs. So I stay with my parents. So my parents have always been the support system for me, which helped me manage my business and my kids, their education, taking care of their needs. So it's I would say it's just a circle. So you cannot go about in parallel lines.
Correct.
But if you try to go in a circle, definitely you come back to the end point.
Absolutely.
Where with their support, I always come back. So I'm able to meet that missing part, which I may not be able to do, is definitely helped and fulfilled by my parents.
That's great, ma'am. So you've been a part of BNI, and in BNI also, just like the circle you mentioned, they say what goes around comes back around.
Yes.
Speaking of BNI, how's your BNI journey been so far, and what are some of the lessons that BNI has taught you?
I would say BNI taught me that I'm a business woman. BNI taught me that I'm an entrepreneur. Until 2017, I used to practice dentistry like a dentist. Simple. Dr. Aarti dentist. I never looked at my field as a business. So it's when I joined BNI, I realized this is my livelihood. See, it's understood it's your livelihood.
Correct.
But you never looked at it with that perspective that this is your livelihood and this is what is your business.
Correct.
So you are a businesswoman.
Correct.
So you are an entrepreneur.
Correct. Ma'am, and I also think that people have a very wrong notion about doctors calling themselves entrepreneurs. Now, I completely believe in the intent that you're doing it with,
Yes.
right? You can do 20 root canals in a day, or you can do 10. But at the end of it, if you're making sure that each customer is getting the best of their abilities, there's no wrong in calling.
I would
a
not
business,
say
right?
practice depends upon the quantity. I would relate it to quality.
Quality, period. Yeah,
Both are cues. It's the T and the I that make the difference.
absolutely.
Because the way I practice is, I have my limitations of seeing patients. It's not the quantity I want coming in.
Correct.
And the other thing is, when I say BNI taught me the business perspective is with the way you handle your money part. It's not that, okay, I've done the treatment, okay, you can pay.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the cost of your treatment and this is what you have to pay.
Okay.
There's a way of putting things which
Correct.
I had not learnt
Correct.
during 20 years of my practice.
Superb.
So BNI taught me the way to actually talk the money part to my patients,
Correct.
which is important.
Correct. And sometimes when you do talk about it, you got to talk about why you are the ideal doctor, and not only a doctor. I believe a doctor should be a friend, because that relationship automatically eases no matter how painful or the difficult the process is. Ma'am, I wanted to know, as a doctor, what was your specialization? What did you dive into becoming a specialist at?
The basic thing what I specialize in is root canals.
Root canals.
Because that is day in and day out, every day something that you come across in people, because lack of awareness. So I did the root canal specialty and my smile design from the University of Toronto. It's basically a course from Canada. I was here for a year and a half there. So that taught me on the root canal process, which helps to save a person's tooth. So when I say that, for a general doctor or general practitioner, it's one patient. But for me, it's 32 teeth which are 32 patients in a mouth. Every tooth is like a patient because every tooth is different from the other. And why I call it as a living individual is it's got its blood supply, the vein, the nerve, the pulp, which we call as the heart of the tooth. So it's as good as an individual. So I would not do a mercy killing for it, or I would not say just get out and pull out the tooth. You would see every way you can save the tooth. That's what is conserving the tooth. So root canal does that.
Correct.
So after that, I went on to do my implantology.
Implantology. So
Yes.
what is it about?
And implantology is before implants came in, the only way you could save a bridge when you can replace a tooth is you put a bridge. So when I say a bridge, taking the support of two adjacent teeth. So even the two neighboring teeth are good. You drill it to put a cap. You reduce it by size because they act as a bridge. But whereas in an implant, if your neighboring two teeth are fine, you don't even touch it. It's just that one tooth where you just drill, put an implant, a titanium screw into it, and create a tooth there. So now people are so getting aware of what is an implant. We do full mouth implants, where a person without a single tooth can have fixed set of teeth.
That's great, ma'am. So, I mean, the process itself in my mind looks a little graphical, but I want to know: is there? I'm pretty sure as a doctor you have emergency cases. What are some of the most successful cases that you can say, "Hey, I've done something amazing," or that miracle moment that you've given birth to as a doctor? Any such stories that you had over the decade? I'm pretty sure you have a lot of them.
One specifically which I would like to quote is about 6 months back, we had a trauma case. So he was a young kid of 17 years. Unfortunately, he's a badminton player, but he actually just took a hockey stick and went to join a hockey match, and the bat hit his hockey stick, hit his face.
Whoa. Okay.
And if you look at the upper jaw and the lower jaw, upper jaw is weaker than the lower jaw. Lower bone is much thicker compared to the upper jaw, maxilla, what we call. So there were multiple fractures in his upper jaw. And it was a Sunday. So they went to Elama Dasappa it was immediately next to the stadium, hockey stadium. First aid was given and they refused because doctors were not available. One of my known patients referred. In my clinic, not in general anesthesia, in local anesthesia, we've treated the fracture and put back the jaw into place within about an hour and a half and saved all his teeth and the bone, and the guy is fit as a fiddle within the next 2 months. And now even his broken teeth are replaced with root canals and caps. And he never even realizes that there was something called a fracture that happened in his mouth.
Okay. That's great. Like, I mean, that's life changing.
Life changing because the deformity what he had.
Correct.
So the fracture completely deformed his upper jaw. And there was nobody to treat him on Sunday.
Wow.
So you can imagine what's the plight. So if they go to Apollo or if they go somewhere, it's just blindly they charge the patient. But they do not actually what can be done in a more better way is never looked upon.
Correct. Doing what's right for the patient
Yes,
and doing
at that
what's right
point of
for the business is different, And I'm glad, he chose someone like you to
Definitely.
fix that
And
problem.
he's not even from Bangalore. He's from Coorg.
Okay, that's nice. That's really nice to know, ma'am. And it gives you that warmth of feeling, saying I saved
Definitely.
somebody.
And that one treatment has given me, I think, 14th tier referral from that one family with their relatives who live in Bangalore, which has led to 14 tiers of referral.
I can say I'm not surprised because you've
In
done
a
such
span of 6
magical work.
months.
You've done such magical
Yes.
work, yeah. That's great, ma'am. So my next question to you is, you've had success stories. You've been a dentist. From somebody so learned like you, I want you to give some amount of advice to the women entrepreneurs or any kind of woman who's trying to make a difference in their life and somebody else's life through business, through their art, whatever it is. Any advice for them?
The one advice that I would always love to say is do something for yourself. Never put your ambitions behind or your self confidence behind. You can manage it because you're a woman. A man cannot do what a woman does. Trust me, if I give you the job of managing the kitchen in your office, I don't think you'll be able to do it as good as what I would proudly say I can do, because we have actually learned the skill of doing it.
Correct.
There's an art to manage both the things. So I would advise any woman entrepreneur, just fly with your heart, fly with your ambition, and don't say no to yourself. Just think positive that yes, I can do it, because I've done what I've never thought I could do in my life. There are certain things which actually men say women cannot do in dentistry, but I would say no. That's something I will try to do and I will do. I've never let my heart say no to anything.
That's great. I think that's a great message, and that's the power, right? If you can really truly be yourself
Be
and do something for
yourself
yourself.
and do something for yourself, because
Correct.
don't compromise just because you have to be in the house, you'll have to take care of your parents, you have to take care of your in-laws, your brother, sister, kids. That's all there.
Correct.
But what about your passion?
True.
Who's going to take care of that?
Correct.
They are not going to take care of that for you. So you'll have to find your way to take care of that. And that's what I've done in this last couple of years, where I've made my place in my society for myself.
That's great, ma'am. So going forward, I think there's an amazing potential for a lot of women to come out and truly pursue their passion. What is your vision or hope for these women, maybe in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, life is going to become more simple for them, because technology is advancing.
Correct.
See, now sitting at home, they can do so much. Whereas for us, it was not like that. We had to struggle, come out. Now, where they are, they can do things. Life is, only thing is, they have to be in pace with technology.
Nice.
So I think if they try to, with their passion, be technically sound and give time towards that, and definitely there's no stop to their ambition.
Correct. And I think technology has been that one very empowering tool.
Very empowering.
In the last 1 or 2 decades, it's been the go-to empowerment tool.
Definitely, because that my clinic, when I started and today, there's a huge difference, because everything is technology based in my clinic today.
Correct.
Starting from an X-ray, is just a technology. It's no more the manual X-ray. Everything is digitalized. What you're doing, the patient can see, view the surgery that you do. So everything is technology based. So you have to, along with your dreams, learn technology also.
It's the need of the
Need
hour.
of the hour, and that's what is going to take you to that goal where you want to go.
Correct. Very true. I'm 100% with you on that, ma'am. One last question on this segment. Again, I completely, truly believe, like you said last time when I met you, that oral hygiene is a must, and people don't really pay importance to it because it really doesn't sprout out, and it's not very, what do you say, something that people can notice. What are some of the things that people must do, irrespective of how their oral health is, on a routine basis, to keep things in check?
Okay. I always tell something as 5 golden rules of dentistry, which is actually not a book theory, which I have created myself for my patients. I just ask them to put their 5 fingers out. Simple. Brushing twice. Using a dental floss. Gargling with lukewarm water and salt. Gum massage. Gum massage is something which people never do because they don't know what it is. And visiting your dentist every 6 months. So when it comes to gum massage, so you basically, the building, what is the most important part of this building?
The foundation.
Right? So if the foundation is strong, the building can stay strong. So in the mouth, the foundation is your gums and the bone. If that's good, there's nothing going to happen to your tooth. So when you brush, what care are you giving for your gums?
Correct.
You don't even know that gums is part of you, part of your mouth. So a simple massage, it actually increases the blood flow to the gums. Oxygen is increased, so they are more healthy. It prevents the accumulation of food between the gums and the tooth. So it gives you the good health, prevents bad breath,
Correct.
prevents bleeding because your gums are strong. So when you take care of these things, your mouth is organically healthy by its own,
100%.
which we fail to do.
Yeah, and I think if we do it on a regular process level, it is an amazing technique that will save our oral
Definitely.
health. Yeah.
Because the more simple things that you follow at home, your teeth are healthier, and you just come to me for maintenance.
Yes, true. And that's a mandate, it has to happen.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Dr. Aarti, for sharing such a wonderful insight into your journey, into your life, into your business, and your practice of dentistry. Moving on, we have a fun, amazing segment called the Rapid Fire Question segment. Are you ready for it?
Definitely.
Okay. So my first question to you is, what motivates you to get out of bed every single morning?
Every single morning, I get up to say, okay, I need to make somebody's mouth healthier.
Well, that's nice. Driven by purpose. Name another business profession you wouldn't mind getting into.
I love cooking. I love to become a chef also.
Chef, I'm with you on that. Name three business leaders you would want to have a discussion with over dinner.
I would like to meet Ratan Tata.
Ratan Tata?
I would like to meet Narayan Sami.
Okay.
I had one opportunity to meet Sudha Narayan Murthy.
Okay.
So Narayan Murthy is one person which I really love for his simplicity and honesty.
Okay. If you were given $1 million, what would you do with it?
I would open a big clinic
Uh-huh.
and which has a wing for charity where people can walk in and get treatment done and not pay for it.
Fair
And I would donate some part of it to charity for the not so lucky people, to give them a better life.
That's a great thought and a noble one. What are some of the most inspirational books or videos that you've come across and you could recommend?
Books is the latest books which I'm like I said, I was a very good reader during my dentistry 4 years. After that, not much of time, but yes, I do read occasionally. And the book I read last was Rich Dad Poor Dad, which
Robert
is,
Kiyosaki.
yes, very good book, and which gives a very good insight about things. So that's one book.
I'm in
really
agreement with
good.
you on that.
Yes.
It's a great book. What's the best advice you've ever got?
The best advice I've ever got is just don't compromise something and do something which you don't want to do just because somebody is telling you to do it. Always. And that's always what I hear from my, the best advice my dad gives me very often is be you.
Be you. That's a very
Be you.
two-word simple mantra. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee.
I miss my dad's coffee at 4:45. 5 I go to clinic, 4:45 he gives me coffee.
Yeah, well, we'll try fixing that coffee for you. Indoor or outdoor sport?
Outdoor.
Outdoor. If you could teach one subject in school, what would it be?
Bio, obviously.
Biology.
My favorite subject.
That's fantastic. Aarti ma'am, thank you so much for coming on to this episode. I personally have had a lot of inspiration that can be taken back from this episode, because what you've truly achieved is remarkable, and practicing what you've been doing for the last 25 years and doing it at such an ethical, economical, and the right way is, I think, the right way to go for a doctor like you.
Definitely. Especially in the pandemic, to make your clinic COVID compliant, follow all the COVID norms.
Correct.
And make the patient feel at ease. I am at the right place. And I don't have to worry that I'm actually getting treated for this. Is something which is really, really, really what I've achieved, I think, in this pandemic.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And for all the viewers out there watching, I have 3 specific takeaways from this entire podcast. The first thing, you can never achieve anything alone in your life.
100%.
You need some support system. It can be a teacher, it can be a family member, it can be a friend. But family is the closest gift we've ever got. So I think please take care of your family. They are your pillars of support. My second takeaway is quality matters. There's no point in doing 20 root canals or 30 root canals in a day where people still do practice in that way. But what is right to do is provide quality, provide a beautiful relationship between you and the patient, and that will last an impact that people will keep referring you, right?
Definitely.
So that's a great one to have. The final thing is, do something for yourself.
Definitely.
Right? If you don't do something for yourself, nobody else will.
See, actually, women miss out on that.
They do. They truly do.
They keep doing for others. never want to fulfill that one, in Kannada they say one dase, that one loving thing for themselves, their passion.
Correct.
Let it be just stitching a simple thing.
They don't
They
do
just
it.
don't do it.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that, ma'am. And for being such a passionate woman in your dentistry, we've had a lot of takeaways today. Thank you once again for being on this show. So for all the viewers watching, please make sure you subscribe, like, share, and comment below. We'd love to know your feedback, and stay tuned for much more amazing episodes like this. Thank you so much.